Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here. How's everyone doing? Is everyone enjoying their copy of Cursed City? I personally didn't pick up a copy. In the end, I waited too long and I thought the models were just a little bit too large for me to use in my other games. Who knows, maybe one day I'll pick it up. Maybe replace some of the larger models with some of the things that I have in my collection. But until that point, we are still playing the classic 1995 version of Warhammer Quest. Back again are the Louts of Chaos. In order of initiative, we have Lief the Legbiter, my Barbarian. Lief is battle level 2 with 22 wounds. He has a massive toughness of 8. He picked up a war helm and the King Shield of Tilia a while ago. He has a point of luck and a lucky charm, which will give him 2 rerolls in the adventure. He has a ton of magic items. I won't go through them all, just the major ones. He has the stone icon of Gamaluk, which will allow him to go back to full wounds once per adventure. He has the Ring of Life, which will bring someone else back from the dead up to full wounds on a 2+ once per adventure. He has 4 magic weapons. He's not going to use all of these. The most important ones are the Blade of Leaping Bronze, which gives him +2 attacks, and an orc magic item that he picked up in the last game. It is a club that is +1 to hit and +1 damage per battle level, so he's going to be doing +2 damage. That brings his strength up to 6 + d6, which is real nice. He of course is the leader. He has the lantern, so he'll be acting first every combat round and will also be the one doing the exploring. Next up, we have Hundert Luftballoon. Hundert Luftballoon had an awesome magic item, the Golden Helm of Alcadizar, and he lost it in his travels last game. That was a bummer, not only because I lost a great magic item, but also because I painted my model to represent that, and that was a mistake. I knew I shouldn't have done that. Never paint your model to represent a magic item because you lose them so easily. I could have gone back to my old model, it would have been just fine, but that's a really old model, and I want to keep moving forward, so I went and painted a brand new model for Hundert. As these are the Louts of Chaos, my, let's say, morally compromised group of warriors going out to make fame and fortune in the Warhammer world, I figured it makes sense for Hundert to get a little more mutated, a little more chaosy as time went on, so I chose this old Chaos Sorcerer model. He's now got a big set of horns and this pinkish skin tone, which I actually really liked. He's also not much of a dancer, as you can see, he's got 2 left feet. For those of you keeping track at home, this is now the 3rd model for Hundert. I'm on model number 3 for Lief the Legbiter. Naughtiness Maximus is just on his 2nd model, got to get him more equipment that I need a new model for, and Ivor Shando, he is our new guy, he's on his 1st. All of this, of course, is completely unnecessary. There's really no reason to keep changing your models for these Warhammer Quest characters. I just want to do it. If nothing else, it helps me accumulate some Chaos models for future armies. In particular, this Wizard model, this Chaos Sorcerer model that I've got now, I've had my eye on him as a Magister for a possessed Mordheim gang for a long time, so maybe I'll finally get going on that. Anyway, love the old models. Glad to finally get an excuse to paint him. But on to Hundert's abilities. He has starting wounds of 14, which isn't bad. He's got a massive power store of 11. He also has 2 more stored in his Wizard Staff and 3 in his Orb of Might. Naughtiness Maximus felt real bad last round because Hundert lost his Golden Helm, which gave him +1 toughness, so he gave him Bogrot's Crown, which I picked up last game. That'll give him a toughness of 4, 5 when he's using his Wizard Staff. He has got a total of 6 spells. He has Cure Small Wounds, which is what I'm going to be using most of the time. Just 1 power, heals 1 wound. He also has the spell Freeze, which is fantastic. Probably the best attack spell in the starting group. He has Heal Wounds, which I'm never going to use. Lightning Bolt, which I'm probably never going to use. Confuse, which is not bad. And he also has the Finger of Doom Scroll, which for 6 power will cause 6 damage. He also has an Invisibility Ring, and yeah, that's my level 2 wizard. Next up is Naughtiness Maximus, my Pit Fighter, who is battle level 3. He is up to 25 wounds, but he only has 2 pieces of Pit Fighter armor, so he still floats between toughness 4 and toughness 5, depending on what the enemies roll to hit him. He has enchanted his Fist Spike, so now it will cause an extra d6 damage on a to-hit roll of 6. He has 4 Heal It potions, and he has a small number of very good magic items. He has the Chalice of Vigor, the Time Freeze Ring, and then the less good magic items are the Amulet of Power and the Sword of Malediction. Finally, the new kid, we have Ivor Shando, my dwarf, specifically a Chaos Dwarf. We got him to battle level 2 mostly by selling off magic items. He has 17 wounds, toughness of 8 thanks to his shield and light armor, and open helm. He has a magic axe, which does +1 damage per level. In addition, his dwarf axe, which really is not bad, has the Rune of Destruction, which means that he can double his attacks to 4 now, once per adventure. So I'm hoping he's going to start getting a lot more powerful. With a weapon skill of 5, 2 attacks, plus 2 strength, hopefully he can make a bigger impact than he did last game. For our adventure today, I've decided to keep going with the Lair of the Orc Lord. Initially I did this because I had more models, more monsters painted for the monster charts from Lair of the Orc Lord than from the basic book. However, I have painted some new stuff, which means that I could do the battle level 2 monsters from the roleplay book and have an okay game. But I've also almost got all the monsters from the Lair of the Orc Lord monster charts. I'm only missing like 1 entry. If I paint up some hobgoblins, I'd have them all. So I'm going to keep going with the Lair of the Orc Lord adventures for the time being. So the objective room is Gorgut's Lair. We roll up a random mission and we get the Magnificent 4. This one's pretty straightforward. We're still in the north. We find a village which is suspiciously happy to see us. We drink and party with them like we do everywhere that we go. And then we find out that there are some orcs which stole a golden statue from them. Probably some graven chaos idol. Anyway, we have to go into the lair to go grab the statue. The only hiccup is that when we get the statue from the objective room, Boggoth the Snotling is going to run off with it and we have to go chase him down. Otherwise, it's going to be real straightforward. So we set up our dungeon deck. As always, the Shaman's Den and the Collapsed Passage are always going to be in there somewhere. We draw our first room, and it's a guard room. No monsters, even though it's a room because it's the first room of a dungeon. We set up our guys on the far wall, ready to explore. We get a power score of 4, which means no unexpected event. And we do our exploration, and we find a T-junction. I feel like I haven't had one of these early on in a dungeon for a while. So again, this could be really good, really bad. I might find the objective room right away, or I might take a really long time as I go down the wrong way and have to backtrack through it. So I divide up the remaining dungeon cards, dealing from the bottom to either side, and I do some thinking. Both sides have 2 cards that are definitely not the objective room. The way on the left has 4 remaining cards, all of which could be the objective room. The way on the right has 3 cards, which could be the objective room. So I figure my best bet is to go to the left, the one with more rooms. It'll give me more of a chance to find that objective room and less chance I'm going to have to backtrack. It is the longer passageway, meaning that if the objective room isn't there, I'm probably going to have further to go on my way back, but I think odds-wise this is the way to go. So new round and I get a power score of 7. And again, the power score works. I roll a d6 and I add 1 because I have a battle level 2 wizard. A 1 will always be a 1 and will trigger an unexpected event. But no unexpected event because I rolled that 6 plus 1 for 7, and so I just pile into the T section like that. New round, power score of 7 again. My guys move towards the left-hand doorway in this L formation. Again, I don't like getting my guys stuck behind my other characters because you can't move through your comrades like you can in a lot of other games. We explore in the exploration phase and we find the dungeon cell. So this is a room. When we move in there, there's going to be monsters. New round, power score of 4. We move into the room on the left-hand side like that. We draw our event card to see what kind of things are lurking in here. We get a monster, so we roll on the battle level 2 to 3 Lair of the Orc Lord chart, and we get 3 Minotaurs. Remember when 3 Minotaurs were going to be the death of my party? Now I'm not even that worried about them. However, the Minotaurs on the monster charts are Fear 5, meaning I have to roll a d6 and add my warrior's battle level to see if any of my guys are afraid of them, meaning they're -1 to hit, or in the case of Wizard, +1 casting values to any spells targeting the monsters. So needing to get over the 5 for Fear 5, most of my guys will only need a 4+, Naughtiness only needs a 3+, and all of my guys pass their Fear test except for Hundert. Anyway, those guys show up in the monster phase. They don't get to attack because they just got placed. They're all just rushing out of the shadows, so we go on to the next round and we get power score of 7 again, which is exactly what I want to see. Lief the Legbiter goes first. He rolls to see if he goes berserk. He does not. So because he only has the 1 attack this round, I'm going to use the Blade of Leaping Bronze. So that'll give him 3 attacks. He's still got that nice strength of 4. He manages to hit the Minotaur attacking Hundert twice, got to keep our healer alive, for 7 points of damage. I also managed to remember that last game when I went to a town, I went and got the temple donation result. He had to pay a whole bunch of money, but he did get blessed by the temple, meaning he gets to reroll his first miss in the next adventure. Well, I just missed, so I reroll that, I end up with a hit, and I cause 2 more points of damage. So Lief had a good opening turn, which is good because he had a real lackluster adventure last game. Hundert is up next. He's using his staff, which is -1 to hit. He's a further -1 to hit because of the fear, which means he's going to hit these things on a 6, and unsurprisingly, he misses. But he is staring at this Minotaur in front of him with 6 wounds remaining, and he has that Finger of Doom scroll. That just causes an immediate 6 points of damage, so he goes ahead and uses that spell. That is going to use all of his power for the round, but probably none of my guys are going to die this first round, and he does have an enormous store of power, so we're just going to get rid of that guy right away. And that's also good because, really, Hundert could use the experience points, the gold, for killing monsters, because he got robbed of all his gold last game, and I do want to get him up to battle level 3. So then we go on to Naughtiness Maximus, my murder machine. Naughtiness takes out his Fist Spike, so he rolls a 6 on his first attack, meaning he does an extra d6 points of damage. He already does 2d6 points of damage, because that's just how I set up the Pit Fighter advancement. He also has a strength of 4 now, so that first attack causes 8 points of damage. His next attack misses, and then his next one also rolls a 6, which causes 11 points of damage and kills a Minotaur right off the bat. And of course he's not done. He's got 2 knee spikes, which he throws into the next and final Minotaur, causing 5 points of damage. That sets up Ivor nicely. That final Minotaur is right in front of him, and he could also use the gold, so he takes his 2 attacks. He's using the axe that does +2 damage. He hits once, and then hits again with a 6, and Ivor picked up a dwarf skill, Killing Blow, which means any to-hit roll of 6 adds +2 damage. So again, real nice start for Ivor. Unfortunately, all told, he only manages to do 9 points of damage, which is 1 off from killing off this final Minotaur, so he is left alive with 1 wound remaining. So the Minotaur gets to swing in the monster phase. He is targeting Lief. Lief is still just weapon skill 3, meaning the Minotaur will hit him on 3s, but he has a pile of toughness and wounds, so I'm not worried. Also, the Minotaur does me a huge favor and rolls double 1s to hit, so Lief takes absolutely no damage. So we're back to a new round and we get a power score of 4. Lief is up first. He still doesn't go berserk. He tries to break a pin. I want to move around so that if we kill this Minotaur, when we kill this Minotaur, we can explore in the exploration phase. He fails to do so. So he has to be satisfied with just chopping the Minotaur's head off. The rest of my guys don't really have much to do except stand around and look pretty. Hundert stays where he is. Ivor and Naughtiness move over to the other side of that doorway, getting ready to move on. For our treasure, we roll on the Orcy treasure chart, and we get a magical scimitar that causes +d6 wounds on a to-hit roll of 6, which really isn't that great. We end up giving it to Naughtiness Maximus. New round, power score of 5. Lief moves up to the doorway, and we explore and we find the Well of Doom. So it's a new round. We get a power score of 6. We, again, do the same thing we did last time. We move into the room on that left-hand wall. We draw an event card, and we get 5 Squig Hunter teams. So between last game and this, I found out I was playing a rule wrong. Again, this is an old game, and the rules are kind of mixed up in a bunch of different places, and sometimes it's hard to find what you're looking for, and occasionally you just stumble across a rule that you didn't know was a thing. When different kinds of monsters show up, you have to place the monsters listed first. I didn't know that. I thought you just placed them however you wanted to. So I'm going to be more careful about that from now on. Also, a commenter pointed out that the summary for the monsters, the Orc and Goblin monsters at the back of the Lair of the Orc Lord book, it really clarifies some of the things, the Squig Hunter teams and the Fanatics in particular. So I'm trying to carefully follow the rules for the Squig Hunter teams of what I'm trying to get around to. My understanding is that you draw a warrior counter, and then you place a squig there, and then you place a hunter team next to them. And then you continue on as far as that goes. Anyway, that's how the squigs and hunters got placed. I'm trying to follow the system as precisely as possible, so if you're wondering why all the squigs aren't in front, that's the reason why. But moving on to the next round, we get a power score of 6, which is a pretty good number. Hundert needs money, and there's a bunch of guys to clear out, so I'm going to use the spell Freeze. When you use the spell Freeze, you roll a d6. The number you roll is how many monsters are affected and also how much damage they take. So Hundert does pretty well, and he rolls a 5. The squigs are really dangerous. They have 2 attacks, weapon skill 4, strength 5, but they only have 3 wounds. So Hundert just summons a blizzard and kills them all off immediately. And all that happened before Lief even gets to go. You can do these attack spells anytime in the warrior phase. So Lief goes and he rolls for his berserk, and he manages to do it. He gets his 6, so now he has 2 attacks. Still, no real reason to switch over to the big club. I'm still going to use the Blade of Leaping Bronze, which is going to give me a real nice 4 attacks. And because no one is in contact with him right now, all the squigs that are in front of him are dead, he's just going to jump into the middle of all these guys and just start laying waste to them. In the end, he just cuts around him in a big circle, and between death blows and all the attacks, he kills 5 of the herders and leaves a final one on 1 wound remaining. So that's a nice pile of dead to add to his berserk rolls in future rounds. Naughtiness Maximus, as he does, goes and takes out his fist spike and just starts killing herders. When he kills something with the fist spike, he can move into the square where they're at, so he just chews his way down the line, killing 4 more of the herders, which just leaves the 1 wounded herder left for Ivor to kill. He moves up to it and sure enough dispatches that last guy, and there go all the squigs and herders. This is a monstrously destructive group of guys I have right now. Anyway, we roll for our treasure and I get double 1s. If you're wondering if double 1s on the treasure chart is good or bad, well, it's not great. Turns out it's a Grolmax axe. It's an axe that constantly seeps acid. On the very low plus side, it ignores 3 points of armor to the target. On the negative side, if you're using it and you roll a 1 to hit, then you've hit yourself with some of the acid and you take 1d6 damage with no deductions for toughness or armor. Also, at the end of each of the warrior phases, every model, not every enemy, adjacent to the person with this axe, not necessarily if he's wielding the axe, just if he has it, takes another point of damage. So I look up to see if I can just leave it behind, if I can choose to not take this. It doesn't seem that I can. I have to give this to somebody. So I give it to Ivor, which means that now it's the end of the warrior phase, so I'm going to cause 1 wound from this axe to Lief and Naughtiness. Hundert still has 1 power remaining, so he goes and heals the wound on Naughtiness Maximus. But yeah, I want to get rid of this thing as soon as possible. We'll come around to a new round. We get a power score of 4, we move up to the doorway, and we explore the collapsed passage. This room, by the way, was the first opportunity I have to have a room that was the objective room. Also, you'll notice Ivor has to stand in the back because he's got that smelly axe. Although really, with the power that I have, no monsters, no threats, I could have just had him standing with the rest of the guys, healed him with Hundert, and gotten myself extra gold, because Hundert gets 5 gold for every point of damage he heals on another guy. But we don't do that. Hundert just has to satisfy himself with healing the 1 point of damage on Lief. We move on to the next phase, we get a power score of 7, and we move on into the collapsed passage. Even though this axe is kind of an inconvenience, I do like how it changes the way I do things. In this game, I tend to develop ways that I always move, ways that I always do things, and now I have to figure, what do I do in order to keep people separated? How does that change my strategies? So I do like how it kind of changes up my thought process as I'm playing the game. Anyway, next round, get a power score of 5, move up to the doorway, we explore a passageway. Next round, a 4, we move up. Power score 4, again, we go and explore. We've already gone through 2 rooms that could have been the objective room, so now this next one, there's like a 1 in 5 chance that it's the right one. Well, it's not. We get a T-junction. I mean, except it's not really a T-junction because there's only 1 card remaining in this passageway. So there's really only 1 way to go. I only set up 1 doorway. So new round and I roll a 1. I've actually been doing pretty well about not rolling 1 so far, but we draw an event card and we get an event. So I go and roll on the Orc and Goblin events, and I get Orky Treasure Hoard. So it gives you a chart to roll on, and I get the middle result. I could have gotten some good things, but attracted more monsters. This is kind of the in-between thing where you go and roll on the gold chart for the room treasure chart from the role-playing book, which I didn't know existed. I haven't been using the room treasure charts, but apparently before that there's this extra thing where you might not get a magic item at all, you might just get gold. And so I roll on the gold chart. Lief ends up with 80 gold, Hundert gets 80, Naughtiness gets none, and Ivor also gets 80. But no monsters show up and nothing bad happens, so that was not bad at all. We move on into the T passage like that. Ivor, of course, has to stay back. New round, we get a power score of 4, we move up to the doorway. It's now a 1 in 4 chance to explore the objective room, and we do it! We chose the right passageway to go down. I feel like a genius. So, alright, let's finish this thing up. We get a new power score of 6. We move into the objective room. We roll on the advanced objective room monster chart, and we get the result that has us roll 3 times on the current monster level chart, which really isn't too bad. So our results are we get 12 bats and 12 spiders. We get 2 giant scorpions, which I'm absolutely thrilled about because those are some of the new models that I painted recently, so I get to use those guys. And we also roll up 1 Minotaur and 3 Ogres. But here is the thing. The Gorgut's Lair objective room has a ton of special rules. First of all, there are different levels. If you remember, that's a new aspect of the game that is introduced in Lair of the Orc Lord. There are these different levels to the room. You don't pin each other when you're up or down a level. You're also -1 to hit anything above the level of you, and anything below the level of you, you're +1 to hit. And this applies to both monsters and heroes, shooting and hand-to-hand attacks. There's also this pit in the front part of the room. Every time you make an attack roll when you're adjacent to the pit, on the hit roll of a 1, you have to roll on a chart to see what bad things happen to you. And it's real bad. If you roll a 1 after that, then you just die. Finally, how monsters are placed in the objective room is also a little different. Missile troops, Scabnose, Gorgut, all those guys get deployed on the top or platform level. I don't have any of those guys, so none of that matters. But the important thing is that nothing gets placed on the entrance level, basically where my guys are all deployed. And it says specifically if there are too many monsters to put them all on the floor, that's the middle level, or the platform level, the top level, then those monsters just don't get placed at all. So again, following the rules about the first things that I roll up and the first things that are listed get placed first. So I put the bats down, then the spiders, then the giant scorpions, which left me no room for the minotaurs or the ogres. Now, I thought that actually sounded a little bit too easy. I mean, I'm just dealing with some spiders and some bats. My guys are totally healthy. I didn't see the big deal about also placing the ogres and the minotaurs behind me. I was aware of this pit in front of me, and I knew that could be some problems, but just to try it out, just as a test, I went and played through seeing what would happen if the minotaurs and ogres were behind me. Let me tell you, I think there's a real reason they limit the number of monsters on these levels. Because that pit sucks. My guys have a lot of attacks, and so every time they throw attack, there's a 1 in 36 chance of them just dying. It is not great to be pinned in from both sides and forced to fight around that pit. In fact, if I was a lot smarter than I am, I would not have lined my guys up in the front like that. Granted, I was a little held back because Ivor had to be back a little bit because of that stupid axe of his. But anyway, I played out a little bit of that with the minotaurs and ogres behind me, and then I just stopped after a scorpion stung to death Naughtiness Maximus, dropping his strength permanently by 1 even after he was raised up, and Hundert tossed himself down the pit. So yeah, there's a reason why monsters only get placed on the floor and platform levels. We're going to be doing it like that from now on. By the way, of course, at the end of the warrior phase, Ivor's axe goes and hands a point of damage to both Hundert and Naughtiness. Hundert goes and heals them both up, it's fine. We also get an ambush attack from the bats, meaning they get an immediate attack as soon as they are placed. Fortunately, they don't do any damage to my guys. Anyway, moving on, we get a power score of 7, which is fantastic. Less fantastic, I start off with Leif and I roll for my Berserk. I'm only going to fail this on a 1, and I roll a 1. That means Leif can't do anything this round, and he hands 1 point of damage to Hundert. That brings us to Hundert, and he's got a pile of power to use. He's going to cast the spell Freeze. Unfortunately, he only rolls a 2. That is enough to kill 2 of the little monsters. I feel I want to get away from this pit as soon as humanly possible, so I'm actually going to kill the 2 bats on the stairs and along the left-hand wall. That gives Hundert a little bit of room to advance into. You can't normally move diagonally past a wall or something, but I think you can move past this pit. I mean, there's nothing there blocking you. So Hundert moves up, and now he takes out his staff, and again, I'm considering not using this staff because I am still next to that pit. Hundert doesn't have any rerolls, and so I could just die. But I go for it anyway, and I'm actually rewarded for it. Hundert turns to his right and kills off one of those bats. Naughtiness Maximus is up. This looks like a big fight. He's going to use his Chalice of Vigor. So from now on, all my warriors are infused with the alcoholic fumes that come out from this magic cup, and when we roll a 6 to hit, we add an extra d3 wounds. Anyway, I want Naughtiness Maximus start punching his way up the platform, get away from this pit. Unfortunately, the bat in front of him is a level above, meaning I'm -1 to hit. Still, I'm weapon skill 4. I'm hitting him on a 4+. Nonetheless, I go and miss 3 fist spike attacks in a row. That's a drag. That means I can't advance any further, so I take out the knee spikes. At least I can kill this 1 bat, or at least that's what I thought. My first knee spike attack rolls a 1, which means I have to roll on the pit chart. On a 1, Naughtiness dies. On a 2 through 3, he takes 1d6 damage and is dangling from the pit and he has to climb up the next round. On a 4+, he just lands on an empty square somewhere on the entrance level. Fortunately, I roll a 4+, so he just ends up in the square that he was at. So that's not too terrible. He does have one more knee spike attack, so alright, let's try and just kill off this last bat. Nope, I miss again. Nice job, Naughtiness. So now I'm starting to get a little bit worried with people falling in the pit and failing their berserk rolls and things like that. I'm just not making the progress I thought I would, so I'm going to have Hundert use the Death Stone. This is a magic item. He rolls a d6. On a 3+, he can cast a spell for free. On 1 through 2, he just loses all of his remaining power. He does manage to roll that 3+, and so we're going to cast Freeze again. Unfortunately, now he goes and rolls a 1. Fantastic. Well, I killed the last bat on the stairs. At least that gives a space for Ivor to move into and hopefully do something. Sure enough, Ivor steps up, manages to kill the 2 bats in front of him. Unfortunately, into the warrior phase, he also hands a point of damage to Naughtiness. That's okay, Hundert's around. He heals both Naughtiness and himself. So it's the monster phase, and here's another little bit of rules that I hadn't ever run into before. I've got all these bats and they have the fly rule. Normally the bats appear, they're already locked in combat, they attack, I kill them, it's fine, but now there's the opportunity for these guys to move around and to get to other places on the board, so I go and look up the fly rule, and it's different than I thought it was. They've got a huge movement, they got like a movement of 8, they can move over obstacles, no problem, kind of like you would expect, but also they're never pinned, and every monster phase they choose a random opponent. Okay, I don't know if that would have made a difference in any of my previous games, but it is a little different. They are just constantly flapping around and changing who they're fighting. So 2 bats fly off to attack Leif, one of them goes after Naughtiness, the other 2 go and run up to Ivor. That's not fantastic because that leaves the spiders to go and attack Hundert. In the event the bats all miss or can't get through my guy's armor, the spiders do scuttle forward. The first one manages to miss, but the second one does web Hundert, which could be a real problem. It's a new round and we get another real nice power score of 7. Leif manages to get his act together to a certain extent and goes berserk. Again, no reason to bring out the big club. I'm still going to use that Blade of Leaping Bronze, which I'm beginning to really like. He's going to kill the 2 bats to his right immediately, and then he's going to wheel on that last bat and roll a 1. He's going to roll that 2 to 3 result, which is going to pitch him straight into the pit for 2 points of damage, and now he has to spend his entire next round climbing out. Guess he slipped on some bat blood or something. Now we're over to Hundert Luftballoon, and thankfully he manages to break free of the spider's web, because I've got that big chunk of power, and I'd have hated to have had that go to waste. I'm immediately going to use the spell Freeze again, and I'm going to use it to kill off 3 bats and 2 spiders, because I just want to get away from this pit and on into the room. So the bats that I killed was the 1 behind Hundert and the 2 in front of Ivor, and then I killed off the 2 spiders closest to us on the right and left on the floor level. That allows Hundert to advance away from the pit, which is nice. He's going to swing his staff at the spider on the top, but he's going to miss, because again, he's going to need a 6 to hit. Naughtiness Maximus is stuck behind Ivor, so all he can do is punch that 1 bat attacking him to death. Then we're on to Ivor. Ivor manages to get away from the pit, but he misses twice with his axe. So things are looking a little bit better as we move on to the monster phase. The nice thing is that these scorpions are all nice and stuck behind these spiders. They've got those giant bases. I'm not exactly sure how they work with the different levels. I assume that they're so big they can be on one level and the other at the same time. But moving on to the spiders, unfortunately, the first one to attack Hundert webs him immediately, and the other 2 get to bite him automatically, and they're going to do a total of 4 points of damage. I may have been a little bit too reckless with Hundert. I tried to get him away from that pit to try and keep him safe, but in doing so, I kind of just pitched him into the middle of bad guys, and now he might be in a real bad spot. Ivor is unfortunately surrounded by spiders, and the reason he's surrounded by spiders is because I have completely forgotten about that axe that he's carrying. That axe that's been causing my guys 1 point of damage at the end of every warrior phase. That would have killed off a spider or a bat at the end of each of my phases. I could have been just burning my way through these, but I have completely forgotten about it. I remembered it while it was causing damage to my own guys, and then I forgot about it when it could possibly damage the bad guys. But oh well, I guess that's how it is. The good news is that even though he's surrounded by 3 spiders and 2 of them are up above and get +1 to hit, he is completely missed. He's not even webbed. Great job, Ivor. It helps to be short sometimes. New round and we get a power score of 6. We're going to start off with the Berserk Lief, but all he can do is climb up out of the pit into that corner there. Hundert is in a bit of a bad spot. He is webbed and surrounded by spiders. He is unable to break free of the webs this round, which means that he can't use any of that real nice power. Fortunately, Naughtiness Maximus is coming to his rescue. He moves up the stairs, now he's onto the floor level, and he's going to attack those 3 spiders on the platform level. He's got a -1 to hit, but he doesn't let that slow him down. He kills all 3 of those spiders. Now, I do have a little bit of a question. The fist spike allows me to move into the space of an enemy that I killed. However, it seems weird that I would be able to move into a space on a level above, because it says you can only move there from the stairs. It's not totally clear, but I think that would prevent me from actually getting up there, so I keep Naughtiness where he is. He doesn't move up onto the platform to continue his rampage. Ivor, for his part, manages to kill 1 spider, which isn't really all that impressive, and of course I'm forgetting about his axe, which would have killed the other one. But oh well, at least with those spiders there, they are keeping these scorpions away from me. These scorpions, by the way, are a nightmare. They're only worth a little bit more gold than a minotaur, and they are much, much worse. They have 2 attacks at weapon skill 3, strength 5, and of course their damage is 2. So 2d6 plus 5 every time they hit. Also, if they hit with both their pinchers, then they also jab you with the stinger for 2d6 damage, and if that kills you, even if you're brought back to life, you are permanently -1 strength. That happened to Naughtiness Maximus in the test run I did earlier. In addition, they are toughness 6 with 20 wounds, so they are no joke. So even though these spiders are causing me problems, it might be better that I'm dealing with them instead of the scorpions at this moment. Anyway, on to the monster phase. Hundert takes 4 points of damage from the 2 spiders chewing on him. A single spider moves up to attack Naughtiness Maximus, and it misses. But Ivor is webbed with the first attack, and then he is bitten for 3 points of damage from the remaining spider. New round, and we roll a 1. Oh goody. We roll on the level 2 through 3 monster charts, and we get 3 ogres, which really isn't so bad. So Lief, Hundert, and Ivor each get an ogre. It's not great that they're attacking my webbed guys. Anyone attacking a webbed person is +2 to hit. But there are definitely worse things on that chart that I could have rolled. Lief is up first. I'd really like him to move up onto those stairs. Not only because of the bonuses that he gets, but also because I'd really like to kill the one that might be smashing Hundert to a pulp. Unfortunately, he fails to break the pin. He wheels on the ogre that's attacking him, though. We're going to use the club, the +1 to hit, +2 to damage club. He is unafraid, fortunately, so he doesn't have that -1 to hit. He does go ahead and hit twice for a total of 9 points of damage. It's Hundert's turn, and I could really use him getting out of those webs, but he fails to do it, so he is stuck there for another round. But Naughtiness Maximus, as always, is here to help. He moves across from the ogre, and he goes on the stairs between the ogre and the Lief. He also makes his fear test, so he is unafraid, no penalties for him. So a couple of attacks later, and the ogre attacking Hundert is now dead. Unfortunately, with his next attack on the one fighting Lief, he rolls a 1 and falls into the pit. This time he takes 1 point of damage and is stuck there until the next turn. This stupid pit. And just to round this off, Ivor also fails to break free from the web. I feel like just fighting spiders and bats, my guy should not be having this much trouble. But we are not looking great right now. Monster phase rolls around and Hundert takes another 5 points of damage from the bugs on him. Ivor is bitten for 6 points of damage. Again, these spider bites just go right past all the toughness and armor. Fortunately, the ogre goes and somehow misses Ivor. With that +2 to hit, it means he'd hit him on a 2+, but still manages to do it. For his part, Lief the Legbiter is hit by the ogre but is unhurt. New round, power score of 7 again. Really need to get that wizard free. Lief wants to get away from this pit and up to help his friends, but he fails to break his pin. So instead he's going to try and deal with this ogre, trying to smash his head. He goes and misses with his first attack, and then he rolls a 1, which means that he falls into the pit again. Fortunately, he rolls that 4+, which means that he just ends up on a square on the entrance level. I just put him right back where he started. In much better news, Hundert manages to get out of the webs. Okay, great. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cast Freeze. Less great is that I roll a 1, and so I only managed to kill 1 spider. That is not really what I wanted to see. I go and throw my attack with the staff on one of those other spiders, see if that cheers me up a little bit. It does not, because he goes and misses. So then I decide I've got to make stuff happen here. I'm going to use 3 of my stored power. I have tons of it. It's not really a big thing. I'm going to go and cast Freeze again. This time I roll a much more satisfactory 6. That's going to help quite a bit. It's going to kill the ogre that was fighting Leif. It's going to wound the ogre that is fighting Ivor. I'm going to put 6 points of damage on the scorpion and kill off 3 more spiders. That's how you do it, wizard. Naughtiness climbs out of the pit, and Ivor also manages to break free of the webbing. He turns on the ogre. He is not afraid at all, but he only manages to hit for 4 points of damage. So over to the monsters. Thankfully, Hundert is missed by his spider. Ivor is hit, so he's webbed, so now that ogre gets another good chance to hit him. This time he does. Fortunately, the ogres only cause the 2d6 plus their strength damage on a 5 or 6, so he doesn't manage to do that, so he doesn't cause any actual damage to Ivor because of all that armor he's got. Alright, new round. Everyone's climbed out of the pit. We're all ready to go. We get 7 for power again, which is fantastic. Less fantastic, Leif is kind of stuck. He can't actually get to any of the bad guys because Hundert is in the way. So all he does is move on to the floor level. So Hundert takes this opportunity to leave. He just goes and hides back in that far corner. The spider on the level above doesn't pin him, so he can do this, and he's just hurt and not having a good time, and I need to keep him alive. He does cast Freeze as he goes, and rolls a 3, which is just enough to kill off the 2 remaining spiders and the last ogre. So all that's left now is the scorpions. How bad can it be? Naughtiness, again, kind of like Leif, he's a bit stuck, so he moves up and is behind Ivor. Ivor does not succeed in breaking free of the web, which is a problem. He is hurt and he's got that scorpion bearing down on him, and if he goes to 0 wounds from that sting, he's -1 strength. So Huntert's going to try and help him out. He's going to cast the spell Confuse on that scorpion. So the scorpion now only has 1 attack, so he can't possibly hit with both. So Ivor might still get killed, but at least he's not going to get weakened. I mean, because right now, that scorpion is going to be at +3 to hit Ivor. 1 because of the level, and 2 because of the web. And with that, it's the monster phase, so 1 scorpion moves into Leif, and the other one moves over to Ivor. There's only 1 attack on Ivor, but nonetheless, it still does 7 points of damage to the little dwarf. Leif is a little bit more fortunate. I'm giving the scorpion a +1 to hit. At least part of him is on the level above. So I figure the scorpion will get +1 to hit, but since Leif can always choose to strike the part of the scorpion that's not on the level above, he won't get the -1. Anyway, Leif only takes 1 point of damage from the 1 hit that he takes. So that could be worse. New round, we get a power score of 4. We're going to start off with Lief the Legbiter, who immediately rolls a 1 and falls into the pit again. You dumb jerk. You hired drunk barbarians and have them go fight next to the edge of a pit. I guess that's just what you get. Anyway, he rolls a 4+, he's fine, but he does have to end up on a square in the entrance level. Speaking of being fine, Hundert is absolutely fine with where he is right now. He does not need to move into combat with that giant scary scorpion. Naughtiness Maximus isn't scared though. He is going to move right in with that guy and cause a nice 12 points of damage to him. Unfortunately, Ivor can't break free of the webs again. But that's okay, we have a plan. Naughtiness Maximus has a time freeze ring, which we are going to use right now. So we are going to get a whole nother warrior phase. So Leif gets another shot at this. He skips past Hundert, goes up the stairs, and kills the scorpion. And then I realize I have not planned this super well. Because of where Ivor is and the scorpion is, I can't get to the other scorpion to attack him with naughtiness. And because Leif moved up to attack that way, I can't get around the other direction to get up on the platform, so Naughtiness is just kind of stuck and ends up moving behind Ivor to just, I don't know, shout encouragement at him. Go, get out of that web, you dumb jerk. Which, by the way, he can't. He's still stuck in that web. That's just a fantastic web that spider spun on him. So now it's up to Hundert with his spells to help out the situation a little bit. Hundert is going to heal himself for 1 point of damage, and also confuse that scorpion again. In the monster phase, the Scorpion might be confused, but it's still mad. It goes and hits Ivor with its one attack, which is not very surprising, and goes and kills him. Hundert still has power left, so he is going to spend one of that, use it for Cure Small Wounds, so that'll give Ivor 1 hit point left, and give him another shot at breaking free of that dumb web. So we are on a new turn, and we roll another 1 for the power score, but that is okay. Hundert is currently not webbed, so he can use his wizard staff to re-roll it this time, and we get a 3, which is much, much better. None of my first 3 warriors can get at the Scorpion right now, so we are all going to run as fast as we can along the other side to try and get up on that platform. That brings us over to Ivor, who manages to break free from the web finally. He moves off to the back as well, because of course that Scorpion isn't pinning him where he's at. He manages to hit with one of his attacks for a 6, which of course does that +2 damage because of that killing blow skill he has. That's going to cause 5 in total. Hundert is going to confuse the Scorpion again, which leads us to the monster phase where the Scorpion wheels on Ivor, hits him, but Ivor's armor holds and he doesn't end up taking any damage. Which is fantastic, because he would have had to have rolled a 2 or a 3 in order for that to happen with his 2d6. But hey, Ivor's still on his feet. So it's a new round, and we roll a 1 again. This time we get an event. We get the Evil Eye, which is not great. This is the one where some evil sigil shoots orc lasers at us or something. Anyway, each of our warriors in turn have to draw a warrior counter. If we get our own warrior counter, then we dodge the attack. If not, we take D3 damage per battle level. And the bad news is that none of my warriors managed to draw their own counter. So Lief the Legbiter takes 3 points of damage. Hundert just dies, gets blasted by this laser. Fortunately, Naughtiness Maximus is right there. He's got a heal it potion. He goes and throws that on the guy. He heals up 5 points of damage on Hundert, and he is still alive and we don't run out of the heal it potion. Naughtiness Maximus himself takes 4 points of damage, and Ivor dies. Hundert Cure Small Wounds him back to life with the 1 power that he has, and then we have to roll a d6. On a 1, 2, or 3, we draw another event. Fortunately, we roll a 4+, and we don't have to deal with anything else. Let's get rid of this Scorpion. Lief the Legbiter moves up onto the platform, but he only manages to hit it for 2 points of damage, which is disappointing. Hundert, still not feeling great, is going to move to the chest, because that's the thing we have to get to in order to find the little golden icon. Naughtiness moves up, can't quite make it into combat, and Ivor goes and misses twice. I guess if you spend so much time webbed and dead, that tends to take it out of you a little bit. In the monster phase, Ivor goes and gets killed again, fortunately with the claw and not with the sting. So Hundert goes and spends another power to heal him back up to 1 hit point. Hundert only has 5 power remaining, so there is a limit to how much he's going to be able to do this sort of thing. Stay on your feet, Ivor. New round, and we get a power score of 6. We start with Lief, who goes and misses twice. Come on, guy, we're so close to this. Hundert is going to stay on that chest. We know that there's a statue in there somewhere. Just got to wait for these monsters to die. Speaking of which, Naughtiness Maximus finally makes it into combat, moves into the Scorpion, and just takes off all the remaining wounds, because that's what he does. He punches things until they are dead. So with the monsters dead, a couple of things happen. First off, right as Hundert is reaching for the statue, Boggoff shows up and runs off with it and ends up down at the end of the T-section over there. Also, we killed off a bunch of monsters, one of which was from an unexpected event, and we did it in the objective room, which means that we get to roll on the objective room treasure chart. And we go and get the Tablet of a Dane, which is an interesting little artifact. It's got to go to the wizard, so Hundert grabs this. It lets me re-roll the dice to see what power level of spells I get when I go up a level. Interesting, could be handy. To celebrate, Hundert heals himself for 6 points of damage. So new round, all we have to do is go kill that snotling and we're done. We roll for a power score, we get a 1. But still, it's not too bad. We end up rolling 2 Black Orcs and 6 Night Goblin Archers. We also roll on the Pit Fighter reaction chart, of course, but Naughtiness Maximus doesn't have a reaction this time. So, on with the round, warrior phase. Lief goes berserk again, which is nice. He hits with one of his attacks for 5 points of damage on the Black Orc. These Black Orcs have 7 health. Hundert moves and tries to finish off those last 2 points, but he misses. Naughtiness Maximus is a little bit of a hero. He goes and breaks his pin, moves to the far end of the platform, and kills off the Black Orc that was attacking Ivor. That now allows Ivor to go down to the T-junction There was a Night Goblin there that had to deploy in that spot in order to draw line of sight to his target, but it brought him just a little too close to Ivor's axe and he gets perished. The bad news is that Black Orc was attacking Naughtiness Maximus, so now that he took off, we have to randomly determine whether he's going to attack Lief or Hundert. Unfortunately, he's going to attack Hundert, and he's going to get that +1 to hit and all that, but he manages to miss, which is fantastic. The goblins also all miss, which is not surprising. Most of my guys are still up a level, so they are -1 to hit, meaning they only hit on 6s, and of course we have tons of armor, and those bows only do d6 +1 damage. Hundert heals Ivor for 1 point of damage, and he gets himself 5 gold in the process, of course. The Snotling can't get any further away than he is right now. Since all my guys are kind of spread out, he's about as far away from any of my guys as he can get, so he's actually not going to move anywhere. New round, we get a power score of 5, which means that we've got a freeze. So we're not going to waste any time, we're going to do that right away. We get a 5 for that, which is great. We're going to kill off that 1 Black Orc and 4 more goblins. So there's just 1 goblin and that Snotling left. Lief is going to move over to the far end of the platform and he's going to throw his throwing axe at that last goblin. Unfortunately, he misses. Hundert likes where he is, he's going to stay there. Naughtiness Maximus is going to move back to the stairs and try and work his way around. But Ivor is close enough to get into contact with Boggoth and that last goblin. I'm going to use my Dwarf Great Axe, and I'm going to activate that Rune of Destruction and get double attacks. So, with those 4 attacks, he goes and chops down both the last goblin and Boggoth the Snotling. We get our statue, we've won the scenario. We also get to roll on that objective room treasure chart again, because we killed off another group of monsters in the objective room. And what do you know? Ivor finds himself the Hammer of Sigmar. Feel like someone would want to keep closer track of that. The Hammer of Sigmar is interesting. It ignores all armor except for magic armor when working out damage. And if you roll a 6 to hit, you cause quadruple damage. So most of the time it's not really going to do anything, but against certain monsters it could be real good. I'm going to give it to Lief. First off, he's the only one that hasn't gotten a magic item this game. Second off, it just kind of feels right to have the Barbarian have the Hammer of Sigmar. So, we are done with the adventure. The Louts of Chaos have successfully completed another mission. The village rewards us for the statue. Lief gets 150, Hundert gets 150, Naughtiness Maximus only gets 50, Ivor gets an extra 100 because he's the one that actually got the statue away from the Snotling, but still he only ended up with 150. We could skip the whole town thing. However, Lief has enough money to go up to battle level 3, and I think that's probably a good investment. So we're going to try and make the trip. So we need 4 rolls on the hazards table in order to get to a town. The first one is an uneventful week. The next one we roll a witch's cave. So we get to a witch's cave and she says, "Here guys, drink this." And we're the Louts of Chaos and we say, "Okay, sure." Anyway, Lief gets +1 toughness for the next game, which is nice. The rest of them all get +1 wound, so that is some good brew that witch has got going. We should try and remember where she was. The next result, we get a flood because it's Warhammer weather. That's just the kind of thing that happens. We all pay 20 gold to have a ferryman get us across a flooded section. It's fine. Then finally we roll up a peddler, which is fantastic. The peddler sells lucky charms, which give us a reroll once per game. And I could really use more of those. I do not like these things that instantly kill my guys, like say falling into a pit in the Gorgut's Lair objective room. So anyway, we all buy a lucky charm, and my Dwarf Ivor Shando, he also buys a healing potion, because he is currently the only one without any way of healing anyone else. Unfortunately, for all these things, you have to roll a d6. On the roll of a 1, it turns out that it's a fake. Fortunately, all our lucky charms are fine, so we all get those rerolls. I think that means that Lief is up to 3 rerolls, which is not bad at all. Unfortunately, it turns out that the healing potion is made of snake oil, and it not only doesn't heal anyone, doesn't cure warts or anything like that, so that's a fake, which is too bad, but still, for a hazard table, great result. So now we are in town. We're going to start with Lief the Legbiter. He has to spend a week training, so he goes and spends the money after checking on his investment. His investment gives him an extra 10 gold, just one of those in-town events that I picked up a while ago. So he goes, trains with the guy, spends a week. He's going to add +1 weapon skill, finally weapon skill 4, that's going to help. +1 ballistic skill, also not bad for that throwing axe. He's going to pick up 4 wounds. he gets the skill Ignore Wounds, which gives him a chance of coming back to life when he's reduced to 0. And he also gains +1 attack, which is a big deal. So Leif's looking real good. With that club, he's got 2 or 3 attacks, hitting on 2s and 3s, doing 7 plus d6 damage. The next person I rolled up is Naughtiness Maximus. We'll talk about him in a second. Let's move over to Hundert. Hundert picks up 300 gold from his investment, which is nice. I don't have any reason to visit any of the locations this time, so I'm just going to roll on settlement events. The first event, he drinks something from the wrong person, just what these guys do. Anyway, he gets drugged, but on the subsequent rolls, it doesn't end up having any effect, so he's fine. On the second day, he's accused of witchcraft, which is not shocking. He's walking around with giant horns, pink skin, and 2 feet. I guess someone picked up that something might be a little bit wrong with that. Anyway, completely fair. He gets kicked out of town. Fortunately, nothing else bad happens. But that didn't last long for Hundert. Moving on to Ivor Shando, my dwarf. The first day I try and find the dwarf guild hall, and I can't find it. Just get lost in the town. I also roll the settlement event Illness, which really isn't that bad. It just means I have to spend the next 2 days recovering, and I have to pay a little extra money for the medicine. So on to day number 4. I still try to find the dwarf guild hall, still can't do it. But I do manage to go and sell that axe, that Grumluck's acid axe that caused me problems, and then I completely forgot about it when it could have helped me. So on the next day, there's really not that much for me to do. I don't really have any money. I've spent my 2 attempts at finding the Dwarf Guild Hall, so I just go straight to the settlement event, and I get thrown out. These townsfolk are a little bit sharper than the normal ones. They're able to figure out some things. They say, "Hey, you're not a dwarf," and they toss me and my big ol' hat out. Anyway, the good news is I don't get robbed on my way out like Hundert did, so could be worse. And over to Naughtiness Maximus. Naughtiness Maximus, day 1, we're going to try and find the Pit Fighter training school because I really want some more pit armor. And I've got more than enough money to buy it. Anyway, the first day I can't find it. I can't find anything in this town. This town is confusing. I only need a 6+ to do this too on 2d6. Anyway, so can't find it the first day. For my settlement event, I get Duel. So, I guess in my drunken stupor as I'm trying to look around for the Pit Fighter school, I stumble into a duelist who is offended by me for some reason. Anyway, he challenges me to a fight. So, I have 2 choices. Either I can just leave, I can get out of the town, and that's the end of my trip. Or I can roll in the chart to see what happens. And the chart is bad. On a 1, I die. The duelist just kills me. On a 5 or 6, I get some money, and on 2, 3, 4, nothing interesting really happens. So I say, okay, whatever, I'll, buy town, and I'm going to leave. Because why would I take a chance rolling on that chart? And then I start thinking, which is never a great sign. I think to myself, wait a minute, I've got all this money, and I still got another chance to find the pit fighting school. I really want to get that armor, and if I leave town, I can't do that. And what am I? I'm a Lout of Chaos. I'm a murder machine. I'm a drunken, angry, battle level 3 pit fighter. Who's this duelist guy? Who cares about him? So yeah, let's roll the die. And I do it before I'm even thinking about this. This is the problem with making these kinds of important decisions after a long game. Because yeah, I think you can tell where I'm going with all this. I roll the 1. So, full of confidence, having just slaughtered like an army's worth of orcs and goblins in the last 2 adventures, Naughtiness Maximus staggers into this duel, probably super drunk from spending the day in town, and is immediately stabbed through the heart and he dies. So, yeah. I don't really know what to tell you guys. I can't even blame the game for this. This is my own fault. I had a chance to not roll on that chart, and I feel like in any other state of mind, I would never have done that. But I did it, and I can't re-roll it or nothing, because it's not an adventure, so it just kind of happens. I apologize. I have lost kind of a cool character. He's definitely my most powerful fighter. I mean, maybe it's good that I no longer have this guy as kind of a crutch to lean on, and we'll see how this party can move on without that. But even so, this is my first Lout of Chaos that actually died. So I am sorry about that. I'm sorry the adventure had to end on this note. The group is going to continue on. We are going to pick out a new Lout. I think I already know what I'm going to do, but that's rough. Anyway, learn from my mistakes. I can just imagine Leif coming out from his training and say, "Hey, I feel great. Where's the wizard? Oh yeah, he got accused of witchcraft and kicked out. Oh well, where's the dwarf? Oh yeah, we found out he's a chaos dwarf. He got kicked out. Oh man, well, they don't have a problem with the pit fighter. Where's he? Oh, he's dead." Warhammer Quest. Never be another game like it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them below, and otherwise I will see you on the next one.